We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Pod Maverick After Dark. I am Kirk Henderson, editor-in-chief at MavsMoneyball.com, and I am joined by fellow site runner Josh Bowe. Josh, how are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you doing?
You know, man, it's been a weird day. I really can't contextualize how strange my day has been on a personal level. And so to get this game, this kind of performance, the Mavericks won 102-94. I think that's right. Yeah,
Yes.
104-92.
Yeah.
And really did so in a way to where they dominated this game. And I feel fucking fantastic.
I was about to say, you wrote the recap, and I do, I always kind of feel bad when you write the recap because we always have so much going on. And, writing the recap and trying to do a podcast and all that stuff can be pretty stressful. But you like doing it, and I do like reading your recaps. And I also like reading your recaps, or I like when you do recaps because I like talking to you. Like we usually record, like you publish, and then it's time to go. So I'm curious, with that fresh off of your brain, like what stood out to you most about this game to you? Because you take you're pretty diligent when you do your recaps. You take notes. Like
I got better at it. I don't do like possession.
In.
I used to almost do like possession by possession, but I will do 150 to 200 words per quarter. And this was a game where Dallas came out and punched the Thunder in the mouth because they keep doing this tactically reasonable thing where they're letting one of Dallas's non-shooters take the shots that they're okay with with Derek Jones Jr. or PJ Washington, not the best shooters in the league, taking open shots. They're okay with that. You have to give up something on defense. Here's the thing. Those guys tonight was like Derek Jones Jr. was a new one. Just punch the Thunder directly in the mouth. And their defensive game plan kind of goes to hell. And the other thing that happened tonight, and this was very evident from the opening tip, my 3.5-minute screed about Luka Doncic on Monday night, apparently someone in his life must have reiterated everything that we collectively, I'm not unique in my rant and my feelings, thought. And Luka Doncic went out and played one of the finest games of basketball he's played this postseason and in his career, where it was so shockingly evident that he was like, you know what, I'm just going to go play. And he said so in the postgame. And he dominated the game in ways that really put the Thunder on their heels more and more as the game went along. And it wasn't like Luka delivered a heavyweight blow. It's not like he had a 16-point quarter or anything, but he just kept coming. And that, paired with the brilliant Maverick defense, They were overwhelming. They were overwhelming. The Thunder were not in this game. The final score, some of the runs that happened, which we're going to talk about, the Thunder had 17 points off of turnovers and scored 92 points. If the Mavericks clean up their turnovers a little bit, they're going to beat the Thunder by 25. They are in this team's brain, and there's really not much the Thunder can do about it except pray.
Yeah, I was thinking watching this game. For one thing, the Mavericks took the lead. I think with 8 minutes in the first quarter and never trailed the rest of the game.
That's incredible.
They made it a 2-possession game with 11 minutes left in the second quarter, and it was never a 1-possession game for the rest of the night. So, even though it was only a 12-point win, it was a wire-to-wire, no doubter. Like, there was no doubt the Mavericks were gonna win this game. I know, they had a 14-point lead in the second half in Game 4, but that was, I truly feel that was like a black swan event game. And that we talked about that after the game, because I wasn't really, some people want to see me get real fired up about losses or about certain moments. And I'm too, I'm Danny, I'm what's his name? Danny Glover and Lethal Weapon. Like, this shit, like, it's hard for me to get going like that on a night-to-night basis. In the playoffs, there's so many games, and we're doing these so many late nights because, so many West Coast teams are not in the playoffs. So now the Mavs are like the de facto second late game every time. Right. So yeah, it's just hard for me to get revved up like that for certain moments. But like, I just knew that game 4 had fluke win written all over it for the Thunder. Like, no disrespect to the Thunder. Like, Shea played an incredible game, but like, there was nothing in that game that said to me the Mavericks should be worried, other than the fact that, like, you just can't drop winnable games in the playoffs because you can get, a small sample size doesn't exist. Like, you could just, like, the Thunder could just hit 23.
Yeah, no one cares about samples when somebody's raining threes from corners. It just doesn't matter.
Right. But I didn't see the Thunder do anything in that game that was like, oh wow, they've done some stuff that's going to cause that. No, they hit 14 mid-range jumpers, and the Mavericks played CTE ball in the final 15 minutes of the game. So and that happens, and it sucks, and fans were rightly mad about it. But taking a step back, I was like, I still feel like the Mavericks are in control. And when they led, they had the lead at the first time out, despite the fact that the Thunder finally did the thing that we were waiting for them to do, and they benched Josh Giddey. I was like, whoa, like, if they're winning, if they won these minutes when those were the minutes that were killing this team, like, the Mavericks were killing the Thunder when Giddey was on the floor in the first 4 games for the most part. Like, if the Mavericks have the lead now, like, the Thunder are running out of trump cards, like, that Thunder's move was to bench Giddey. Like, they should have been winning by like 8 to 12 points.
It flat out didn't work.
And didn't work. Yeah.
And Isaiah Joe is an unbelievable shooter. So if he hits, he was 2 of 8 from 3. If he's 4 of 8 and he's hitting them early, that changes things. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. But the non-SGA Thunder shot 8 of 36 from downtown.
They're looking a little 2020 to 2023 Dallas Mavericks.
They're challenging. It's like, and everybody's, we talked earlier when we did the series preview. One of the things we talked about is like the Thunder could go on runs with the threes because the Mavericks are going to be okay forcing late shot clock threes, etc. Even if they're open from corners, the Mavericks are okay with that because the goal is to wall up the paint. Here's the thing, though. The Mavericks have so thoroughly closed off the paint, it doesn't feel like the Thunder are really making much of an effort outside of SGA. And so that frees up Derek Jones to wildly contest Lou Dort threes where he's getting second and third jumps after pump fakes. It feels like the Mavericks are everywhere on defense. Like, the SGA doing his, I don't mean to be, this is a compliment, but SGA in this series has kind of played like guard Dirk, where he's taking these really impossible, tough mid-range shots and, shoulder bumping and spinning and connecting. But that's the only offensive option they have. That's really all they have. That and fast break points. Like, it's crazy. This is, I mean, we talked about the 2011 defense, which was a bend and don't break defense, which was built on verticality and stopping LeBron and Wade from getting to the rim as best as possible, which they did. But over the course of that playoffs, there was a lot more offensive stuff. This defense is wild. I am just in awe. Even when there's kind of a rut, like Daniel Gafford was a minus 10 on the floor tonight, I still felt like he was so impactful. It's just really brilliant.
He had that awesome block on Chet at the rim. Where at first glance I thought it was a total foul, and then I saw the replay and I think he kind of skimmed the ball before he hit him on the arm. Like, that was a great play. And the Thunder got to the rim for the first time. They shot 16 of 21 in the restricted area. That's by far the best that they've shot, and I think it's the most makes they've had at the restricted area all series. But it didn't matter because they shot 10 of 40 from three. They were 2 of 12 from the corner. And I know a lot of that's going to be shot variance. And Isaiah Joe going 2 of 8 from three. That I don't know if you can necessarily count on that. But the Mavericks are leaving guys open. Like, the way that some of these Thunder players are getting spot ups, like Lou Dort, like I've seen that. And someone's talking to me on Twitter right now about, like, Lou Dort was 39% shooter. And now he's shooting whatever he's shooting right now. Before Lou Dort was 39% shooter this season, he was largely like in the mid 33, 34, 29, 33. Like, I'm not convinced that he's a great shooter. Like, he's only had one playoff run before in 2020, and he shot 26% from three. Like, we talk about this all the time. There's a difference between the regular season and the postseason. There just is. They are different sports. The way the teams scout, game plan, and prepare for the NBA playoffs is so wildly different from the NBA regular season that I truly believe that they're different. Like, they're different versions of basketball. Like, they're not the same. They are just not the same. And the Mavericks do not care that Dort was a 39% shooter, because they've basically been like, hey, okay, you're a better shooter this year, career high. Prove it when we're locked in on defense and we're walling off the rim and we're making life difficult, and maybe your catches aren't as easier, and maybe you're having to take a couple more side steps because we're running you off the line. Like, Dort took at least 2 or 3 like pump fake sidestep threes, and like that he's not that guy, right? Like, he's the standstill spot up. I need 20 feet to get a 3 off and make it in the regular season when we're playing Charlotte and we're up 15 and there's no pressure. Like, it's just, no offense to Lou Dort, I'm just saying it's different. And we've seen it with the Mavericks. We saw it in 2020 and 2021 where those good offenses just clammed up aside from Luka. Like, it was literally the exact same thing that we're seeing right now with the Thunder, where you realize that there's a difference. There are 82 game players and there are 16 game players. And right now the Mavericks have more 16 game players than the Thunder. And it's crazy because it's a 3-2 series, and it's like, this is the most I've seen a team dominate a series, but it being 3-2. Like, it's so weird.
And did we talk about Luka? My brain is just
we gotta talk about Luka. It was because he played a great game.
I don't know. I couldn't be prouder.
Yeah,
it's a response game. I was so upset the other night, and I really was. Like, this season, I think by and large, just the fact that I had a new baby and too much stuff going on, I've really not gotten super pissed in games for people who followed the show for a really long time. I was real mad. I
know.
And he always, Luka very rarely disappoints you twice in a row. He very rarely walks away from something and doesn't take a level of responsibility. And so his performance tonight, he didn't say anything to the refs. Like, he didn't talk to the refs at all that I saw. I mean, it was crazy. Like, to the point to where the commentators were kind of talking about it rather, like, consistently. And a friend of the show, don't want to name him, but brought something up that we've kind of talked around, but I don't think I've actually said out loud. And that's how much Luka's complaining and talking to the officials wastes his mental energy. And how much, like, we talk about how it affects his play, but the specific notion of when Luka's really bad with the refs, it saps him of his energy. And he finished this game spry. He looked ready to go. He looked like he could play another 12 minutes. And that was interesting because he has looked so haggard because he is constantly talking, complaining, etc. And not tonight. And if they go close this in 6, it'll be in large part because he decided, and really he said this in post game. He said, I just decided to go have fun, play basketball. And it's so important to his game. Like, joy is such an important element of the Luka Doncic game.
Yeah, because it allows him to utilize his talent. Like, it's hard to make a 3/4 alley-oop pass to Derek Lively, which is one of the best passes he's made ever. It's hard to do that when you're looking back at the refs and you're taking yourself out of the game. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I thought that was like when Lucas said that, I thought that was hilarious. Like, it was amazing because, we deal with this thing where we're not even like, we're just like, I don't even want to. Is it criticizing? It was just like, we're just stating facts. Like, hey, Luka's playing poorly. He's doing these things that are not well. They need to change. And then people lose their minds for 48 hours and they're like, well, no, like, he's hurt. So like everything he does is because he's hurt. And it's like, okay, there's more nuance to this. And like, just because we're saying he's playing poorly doesn't mean we don't like him as a player or that we disrespect him or anything. We're just stating the obvious. Like, he's shooting the worst he's ever shot in these playoffs. He's never had 7-game stretch, even in like a regular season where he shot this poorly. Like, it's a factor. And if you want to attribute it mostly to the injuries, okay, but like, it has to change. And then he comes out and he's like, yeah, I needed to, I lost it and I needed to come back. Like, and it like totally confirming, like, we saw it. And like, all these people are trying to deny that, like, that reality. And then Luka just casually after the game is like, oh yeah, like, I had to cut the shit out. Like, I had to figure it out. I had to stop worrying about the things I didn't need to worry about. So like, that was just a kind of like refreshing, like, okay, reality exists. Like, it was just good to see that him, say that. And he's always been, and that's what's so funny about like this discussion is Luka's always, I mean, it's kind of funny because he'll say like, yeah, I took too many bad shots, and then he'll come out the next game and shoot like 15 threes. But he's always the first one to say like, yeah, I played like shit. Like, he will say that before anyone else, like almost regularly. Like, it's kind of one of his hallmarks, I think, because he doesn't say a lot to the media. And one of the things he always does say is when he plays like crap, he usually never makes excuses. Like, as much as the injury discussion has come up between like media and fans, like, he hasn't really leaned on it that much.
No.
Like,
I mean, he leans on body language and how he plays, but there's
like,
no verbal.
So like, that was just refreshing, and that's not about what's on the floor necessarily. I know we're talking about other stuff, but that was just refreshing to hear. But yeah, he came out and looked awesome. I knew that this was going to be different for him when in that first quarter, I don't know if you remember, where he tried to draw a foul near the 3-point line and took like a 22-foot one-handed floater that he made. And he did the thing where, he tried to draw a foul and tried to exaggerate the contact. And when the shot went in, I looked right at Luka because I was like, oh, he's going to be pissed. He's going to be working that ref all the way back up the floor. And he didn't. He turned around and he walked up the floor. Like, he might have said a word. Like, he might have did a look, but like, he didn't. There was nothing. I was like, okay. Like, he's decided, like, he's just not going to engage in that. And yeah, I think it makes a big difference because, like I said, you don't make awesome full court alley-oop passes when you're talking to the refs. So, like, he totally looked back, like, he looked like Luka, and it's one of the few times we've been able to say that this playoffs. And it's not surprising that the Mavericks, comfortably won a game because their defense has been doing the job and their role players have been doing the job. We've just been waiting for Luka, which is the weirdest thing to say. Like,
ever.
Never had to say that.
Never have had to say it in 6 years. Let's talk about the statistical profile of Luka's game. So he and SGA, I'm just going to stop trying to say the man's name. For the record, he gave an interview about how he wants his, not an interview, but someone asked him how he wants his name pronounced. And I confuse myself after every game about which one it is. Okay, so that's why I'm just going to call him SJ. I don't want to disrespect.
Is it Shay, or does he say it's Shy?
I mean, there was an interview, and in my head, I am like, he said it was something different, and that's actually not even his full name. Like, it's okay. You look him up, and it's something different. Anyways, he and Luka shot 12 of 22 from the floor, both of them. But Luka, So, yes, so when the three ball's going down, that obviously changes a big portion of Luka's game. 5 of 11 from 3. I remember, there's the floating one you talked about. He hit 2 catch-and-shoot ones that were just gorgeous, and it's a reminder how many more catch-and-shoot threes he's gotten this year. That obviously changes his game, but inside the arc, he was 7 of – what is that? Yeah, I'm doing my math right. 7 of 11. What's his statistical profile look like? What kind of shots was he making from inside the arc?
He was 2 of 2 restricted area, 4 of 7 in the paint outside of the restricted area. Only 2 mid-range jumpers.
Which is great. And so he hit a couple of floaters that I saw where I'm just like, there it is. There it is. There's not the waiting for contact. There's the taking the shot that the defense is giving to you.
Yeah, this was 2020 Luka. Remember when he was all threes and he was all threes and all paint, and that was Luka tonight. And like you said, they were kind of giving it to him, and he wasn't taking it, and he definitely took it tonight. And that was good to see. When he's making shots in that floater area, that's when I feel like he's most dominant as a scorer, because that is almost always the spot of the floor that defenses are okay, we concede because we don't want to give you the rim, we don't want to let you walk into a 3-pointer, and we don't want you to pass. We don't want you to pass open someone at the rim or the 3. So we're going to let you take a 12-foot floater because, statistically that's not a great shot across the NBA, and he's so incredible at it. That's when he's rolling, when he's cooking in that range. He's unstoppable when he's making shots down there.
Yeah. Oh goodness. All right, let's cut to a break real quick, and then we'll come back. Everybody hanging out here at in YouTube as we're going live, thank you so much. We passed 3,000 subscribers, which in 13 months, Josh and I are very, very pleased with. Couldn't be more grateful for the fans of this show. If you could consider liking the stream and subscribing if you're new here, would very much appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys. Everybody listening on an audio version of this, either late at night or early Friday or Thursday morning. Is tomorrow Thursday? Yeah, Thursday in 15 minutes. Consider leaving a review, shoot me an email, find me on Twitter. Love talking with everybody. Love hanging out and doing this. And we'll be doing our secondary live show immediately after this. I'm going to stay up late. I'm taking off the next 2 days of work to do things around the house here. So I will have no problem staying up until 2 or 3 in the morning if that's what everybody wants to do. Shout out to being 40 years old now. I can still stay up late and not die. That's not true. I'm going to pay for this all week long. But you know what? It's really fun talking basketball with everybody. Josh and I are going to insert some ads, and then we will be right back. Thanks so much for hanging out.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
You're finally tackling your spring home improvement projects. Hello, 2024 Dream Garden. Until you realize you're short 3 bags of mulch. And why didn't you grab that pair of gloves you were looking at? Luckily, through Instacart, you don't have to stop mid-project to run to the Home Depot. You can get your missing gardening supplies, tools, and more delivered in as fast as 30 minutes. Have more time for your project and get the Home Depot delivered via Instacart. Visit instacart.com to get free delivery on your first 3 orders. Offer valid for a limited time. Minimum order $10. Additional terms apply.
Okay, we're back, and I want to give a quick shout out to some of the people who are leaving us tips. Oh my goodness. Too Much BTP just gave us an enormous tip. Let's go Mavs. That Mavs Luka pass from the opposite side of the court to D-Live, absolutely insane. Keep up the great shows and content. What an incredibly generous thing. Thank you so much. Too much BTP. Shout out to our friend Henry, who has left us 2 different tips here. His second one says, Kyrie is officially Patrick Beverley now. No, Kyrie is playing his butt off on defense. Really loving Kyrie. And then shout out to longtime listener, Brian Roby. He pronounces it Shy, I believe, better defender this series. Luka or Shy? The answer may surprise you. And I really actually do kind of want to talk about that real briefly. I know this is a Mavericks podcast, but I was the proud roster. I rostered Shy on my fantasy basketball team. The man got 4 steals like every night. Really incredible during the regular season. He's ball watching this series. He's been awful.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
Because that's the thing with him is like I think he led the NBA in steals.
Yeah. Oh yeah, by like a statistically significant margin, like kind of wild actually.
And I think credit to the Mavericks and credit to Jason Kidd, credit to the coaches, who credit to the whole team, whoever, whatever's going on there. They very clearly saw that on tape that Shai is a roamer. Like he does not guard the other team's best player, which is not a dig. Like not stars usually don't do that. Like defense is more than just one-on-one. It's a team. Like playing good defense requires a team concept in unison. So
and the Thunder are good at defense.
That's not a dig. That's not a dig. He's good at it. Like they love him roaming the passing lanes. Like he's a gambler. Like that's his defensive skill. And if you're good at it, that's a game-changing ability because they basically, they go from defense to offense and they're a young, fast team. They can play in transition. So it's really important. And the Mavericks are clearly aware of that. And Shai has been either on PJ Washington or Derek Jones Jr. And our own Matthew Phillips mentioned this in our Slack. So this isn't an original
like 3 games
me.
ago. This is like he was on this on game 2 when the Mavericks
when PJ went off.
When PJ went off. And I honestly, part of me feels bad for him to a degree because I think there's been a kind of coaching decision to say, you know what, if we get killed by the role players, we get killed by the role players.
Right. I think that's what they're living and dying on that. But to be fair, like the role players have to make the shots, so credit to the Mavericks, but they're not just making like wide open spot up 3. Like they are aware that Shai is guarding those guys and they are moving those guys in different spots on the floor to make things difficult and to take advantage of Shai's roaming. Like PJ Washington had, I can't remember if it was game 2 or game 3, where he had that dunk off the inbounds because Shai was just totally in like la la land trying to like go for a steal and PJ just went right to the rim and got a dunk. PJ posted him up a couple of times because again, like if he's not, because he was kind of like lingering and trying to play pat, and it's like, okay, boom, we're going to rotate the ball over, we're going to get it in the post, and Shai's toast, like he's not in position, and PJ scored on him. And Derek Jones Jr. has been doing that. Like he made 3 threes, which is really great for him. But he made 4 2-pointers. Really. He made 4 2-pointers, and he was scoring, taking advantage of Shai not paying attention to him, trying to roam off steals, and the Mavericks basically weaponized that to get good looks. I think, that's credit to the coaching. Like they clearly saw that on the tape, that they're like, wow, Shai, they put Shai on a bad offensive player, and they let him try to wreak havoc off ball. Let's use that against him, like almost like teams used to do to Russell Westbrook, who had that kind of manic off-ball energy. And it was like, if we just like play into it, it's almost like driving into the skid. Like if you're skidding in your car, like driving into it, like we're going to be fine. Like it's harder for Shai to roam and kill you off ball when you're going at him directly with the player he's guarding and forcing him to make some tough decisions, which clearly wasn't ready for.
For everyone listening to the show, I briefly stunted Josh because I put something in front of my camera. In honor of SGA's bad defense, I am drinking a Clearly Canadian tonight during the show. I'm so impressed. So those are kind of the big things. I got a little lost about what else to write about. So I actually had my friend Jared Dubin pull me what he saw as the post game points off turnovers, and he sent me where to go. I had it up here a second ago. The Thunder had 10 points off of steals, so 8 different possessions, and then they had 12 points off of 10 dead ball turnovers. So that can't be right. That seems how many? So they had it. if he's the stats he's pulling for me basically show that they show the Thunder scoring 22 points off of Mavericks turnovers. So if that's the case, the Mavericks just put this Thunder. I'm shocked. I just wanted to revisit that number because it's like that the Mavericks held the Thunder to their lowest point total of the season with 92 points. I just wanted to revisit that because it's just so crazy to me. I can't even imagine.
I mean, OKC hasn't had a good offensive game since game one. They've played 4 straight bad offensive games.
What do we nitpick? What do we? I don't.
Wait. Let's not nitpick. I got another thing I wanted to bring up.
Okay, yeah, let's go.
Okay, Derrick Jones Jr. in the games 4 and 5, 36 combined points. Jalen Williams, 20. Also 20. Wait, no, he has. I'm doing this. No, wait. All right, now I got it. Derrick Jones Jr., games 4 and 5, 36 points. Jalen Williams, 26 points combined. So, doesn't that kind of like say the series right there that the Thunder's second best player has been outplayed thoroughly on the offensive side of the basketball by the Mavericks, like fifth starter for the most part? Like, that they don't ask for offense at all, that they don't care if he shoots like 1 of 10. They won. By the way, they won games 2 and they won games 2 and 3 with Jones scoring combined 12 points on 4 of 22 shooting. So like clearly they don't care if Derrick Jones Jr. doesn't score points, but he does. When he does, it's a bonus, and he's still outscoring the Thunder's second best player. Like I think that just shows like people were worried about the Thunder's inexperience in the playoffs, and I think we're seeing that kind of play out.
It's pretty crazy. Strong performances from a number of guys. Weird performances for other people that
Talk about the weird lineup.
I need to understand because it's like the Mavericks won, so ultimately that they won is what is important. I desperately need to understand Tim Hardaway Jr. and Jaden Hardy minutes. I need to understand it. Now, somebody correctly pointed out to me, Hardy had 2 very nice passes resulting in dunks. So Hardy did some stuff with his point guarding minutes, and I gotta give him credit there. I also thought it was pretty interesting, quite candidly, that Jason Kidd put him back in after he got up 5 shots in 8 minutes. Like simmer down there, big fella.
With Kyrie on the floor, by the way, which is the weirdest. I'm just at this point. I almost believe it's like something that Kyrie's doing like on purpose, like to like I almost wonder if he's like trying to now this is like me getting like way into like armchair psychologist. Like, is he trying to be like, yeah, you guys got it. Like, you don't need to just stand and watch me. Like, you guys do it. Like, I believe in you. Like,
I don't mind.
Is this a team chemistry thing that he's trying to do?
I think it might be to a degree. I don't mind if he's passing, but he wasn't involved in the offense in the end of the first quarter. The Thunder just missed shots, and the Mavericks took a 24-22 lead in the second quarter with the Maverick offense itself just going to hell. And it was heinous. And the Tim Hardaway minutes, we know Jason Kidd is going to keep playing him until they quite literally get him off the team. So I have
also, he only played 12 minutes. So
yeah, and he hit 1 3, and then he hit a nice floater to get things going in the fourth quarter. I'm just the Hardy, Kyrie, Hardaway minutes have, and I could be wrong, but we talked about this in the season. I'm pretty sure they get annihilated in those minutes.
Do you want me to look it up? Do you want to filibuster?
Yeah, look up because we talked about this at one point, and then the Mavericks just stopped doing it because they didn't have to after they traded for everyone. So I'm like, what is going on here? And so I suppose what I want is, if we're going to do things like this, Kyrie at least has to be involved. He can't be a highly paid decoy. He's a good point guard, as we have seen. And tonight he didn't even really get a chance to distribute the ball that much. Just four assists to go along with 12 points. I mean, he's a plus 12.
He's been playing the best defense of his life.
And that is extremely important to what the Mavericks do. So I don't want to like undercut it. It's just those, like, that combination of 3 guys does not make any sense to me.
But they got away with it.
Have you found them yet?
I'm hitting filter lineups right now.
Yeah. It's just one of those things. And so
they were okay. So when Kyrie, Tim, and Jaden Hardy were on the floor in the regular season, the Mavericks were minus 6.2 points per 100 possessions, and they gave up 127 points per 100 possessions on defense.
Like that's
a lot.
Like, that's N times bad.
Yeah, that's like worse than the Charlotte Hornets.
And they only tried it like 5 times. I mean, we all remember it. We would come in here and talk about it, be like, what the fuck are they doing? Please stop doing that thing. Yeah. And then Kidd tries it in a playoff game on the road. So, LOL, Jason Kidd. Shout out to that.
I mean, that just says, he's done with Exum.
Which is sad. Exum actually,
and you can't blame him. You can't blame Kidd for that at all.
No, and it was horrifying. Like Hardy goes in and gives up a dunk immediately. And so I was just like, what is happening here? And he settled down and played within his role. He finished, he finished -2, which in 15 minutes, you're just trying not to die. So that's close really something.
If your bench can be as close to even as possible when their starting 5 is this good, which it is, and it's been playing really well, and especially with Lively, you just want Green. Yeah, like you said, you want Green, Hardaway, whoever else is playing off the bench that's not Lively, because Lively is obviously counted on to be a huge impact, which we can maybe talk about next. But you just want those fringe bench guys to be as close to even as possible. Like even if it's -1, you're like, all right, that's fine. Let the starters take it.
And maybe Exum, if the Mavericks were to win this series, every series is new and different, so you never know what you're going to see.
They'll get another chance.
It's good to see different guys getting opportunities. It was interesting to see kids stick with Hardy that long with some of the kind of questionable choices, quite candidly. But the one that really killed me, the Mavericks were up 18 in the fourth quarter. Thunder called timeout. The Mavericks turned the ball over essentially 4 times in a row. There's a PJ Washington travel. There's Tim Hardaway who just loses the ball in the lane. Then Hardaway shoots an air ball 3 over the rim. And I'm sorry, I want to start considering air ball 3-pointers turnovers. I don't know how the hell you would possibly calculate that, but it's essentially a live ball turnover because you're just giving the ball to the defense on the run. It's not even a rebound because guys are so used to things hitting the rim. Then you have just that split second to reorient yourself and get back on defense. Then Kidd calls a timeout because the Thunder scored 8 straight points. Luka turned the ball over too. He threw a really bad pass down the lane to someone. I want to say it was, and so all of a sudden, the Mavericks are up 8, and it's like, guys, and again, I talked about this earlier. I wrote about this. If you just stop turning the ball over quite so much, they had 14 turnovers tonight, which isn't a ton, but we've also seen the Mavericks have games where they have 7 turnovers. It wasn't
a ton, but the Thunder only had 7. So it just
the role players cannot turn over the ball. Like PJ Washington had 3.
Yeah, Luka and Kyrie combined for 4.
That's
awesome.
Fine.
Yeah.
Lively had 3, 2 of which were offensive fouls on screens, I think. Those are kind of, you throw your hands up in the air. And it's just
had 3.
Yeah. And Gafford Gafford only had 1. But it's like they just add up in a game where all the possessions matter. And you just don't want to see the Mavericks. It's just like the free throw thing the other night. You don't want to see the Mavericks lose the game because of something like that.
Right.
So.
But you want to talk about Lively before?
Yeah.
We got to talk about Lively, right? He's awesome. I don't know what to say. He's 20 years old.
Best center in the Southwest Division.
I don't know if I'm there yet, but I know, but
plays his role perfectly though, man.
I just he's 20. He's 20 and he's doing this in his first playoff series.
He looks like he belongs. He makes a big difference every time he's out there. It's incredible when he makes his shots, how much better he looks. And he's looked great, but it's
what's he going to look like in 5 years? Is he an all NBA player in 5 years?
What? I don't really know because it's I think there are elements of his game we don't get to see enough of.
Yeah, I know. Even if he doesn't expand his game, I'm just he's on a path to be a double-double, Rudy Gobert level defensive force, linchpin play, and that's Rudy Gobert's made an all NBA team, I think. So he's on that path and he's a better athlete than Rudy Gobert, by the way. So he has even more potential to to be like a guy that can switch and do a lot of other different things. And he's obviously like his offensive game is so polished, even though he's struggled in the playoffs. Like he's such, that's why it was so weird in the first couple of games of the series. Like he's such a composed finisher and he's such a good decision maker in the short roll. Like the three turnovers today, you're like, what's going on? But I don't know. He is like
the turnovers were offensive fouls though. They were all screens.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But like quietly, like we haven't had to talk about it because I don't think it's burned them. But like a subplot of this playoff run is that Lively has outplayed Gafford considerably in terms of like winning impact. And that's not even really a knock on Gafford. But Lively has just been so good, and like they're losing the Gafford minutes and winning the Lively minutes. I know there's more to it than that. There's more to the individual plus minus. I'm not trying to just that, but like the Mavericks keep winning, so it hasn't needed to come up. Like you don't make a change when you're rolling like this. But I've thought a couple times, like if they get down, like they've only trailed in these series when they've been when they lose the game one. After game one of the Clippers series and this series, they've been either winning the series or tied. So they've never trailed after game one. So they probably haven't felt the pressure remove. Like I've been thinking, like, are they going to start Lively over Gafford? Because like they keep, when Lively comes into the game, it's a total transfer, like not a total transformation, but it's just like, holy crap. Like he's just popping off the screen. Like he's been amazing. Like
he couldn't set screens in the summer. He couldn't set screens 10 months ago.
The Mavericks thought he was going to be in the G League for half the season. In the summer.
I don't know about that. Well,
no, that's what they did. Remember, they told I can't remember which story it was. Maybe it was Tim Cato or Tim McMahon. They were, when they drafted him, their plan was they thought he was going to be in the G League.
Sure, play a lot up and down. That's interesting.
Yeah. Now he's winning game fives on the road, like being part of the winning time lineup. Like it's crazy. Like he's so good, and his length and quickness. Like that's the thing I think, like Gafford is not doing a terrible job, but like Lively, I think Lively has like 4 inches on wingspan, and like he's taller than like he's just bigger, longer, and faster, and that makes a difference. Like you see the different. Like Gafford is really good at the restricted area and guarding when guys get to the restricted area. But if you try to ask him to creep out a little bit more, like near the free throw line, you can see he's a little bit more uncomfortable. Lively looks totally comfortable contesting the pick and roll at the level of the screen and near the free throw line and challenging those floaters while also being able to rotate back to the rim and help if the ball gets passed around. Like he's an impressive player, and he was amazing tonight. He was absolutely incredible.
Love it, man. I obviously very much agree. Just at a certain point, it's like the dude has been, somebody noted his plus minus in the series is like approaching the 60s. It's pretty off the wall.
Crazy.
Yeah. Oh, and as Nick Angstadt of Locked On Mavs just tweeted, imagine if Luka were more healthy, and imagine if Maxi Kleber was playing in the series. And that's actually, I don't necessarily want to imagine the Maxi element of this, because I think it's fairly important to note how these two have stepped up. Now, the Thunder were the team where you could get away with having just these two, because the Thunder aren't very big. But it's.
Well, the Clippers weren't very big either.
That's true. No, but yeah, but they.
But I know.
They're so long. Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
All right. Well, do we have anything else? I should let you go to bed.
No, I think that's about. I don't know what else to say. I mean, that was just. I mean, that's a really awesome playoff win. Like, I just super impressed with how they came about, and there was no hangover from Game 4. So
I've been recording into the wrong thing just the whole time. I'm surprised you didn't tell me that before the show.
Oh, what, your microphone?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't sound that bad.
What about now?
Man, God. All right, sorry.
Everybody. Yeah, 40 minutes into a show. Shout out to.
I'm usually good at picking up that, but you sound like in my brain. It was like you sounded okay.
Well, yeah, John. Shout out to my friend of the program, John Gennaro, texting me that 25 minutes ago, and me not seeing it until now.
I'm sorry.
I mean, nobody really
no one in the comments even said anything.
No, usually someone in the comments zings me on it. It's just I like when I move my setup around, because like my office is off my bedroom, and when it's a late game like this, my wife is like, "No,
go downstairs. So I just have to relocate everything and then replug everything back in because I'm operating off of a laptop, which is truly ridiculous. But here we are. All right, guys. Josh, you go on and go to bed. Everybody else hang out here and come talk a little basketball with me about this game. Let's hang out till the wee hours because there's nothing more fun than if there's one thing more fun than your team winning a basketball game, it's talking about a team winning a basketball game with your friends. Josh, thank you so much for hanging out. Everybody else, please hang around, and we will be right back. Those on listen on the audio stream, look for the secondary show to post Thursday afternoon. We will see everyone on Saturday. Oh, that's actually it. Let's talk about that for just a second.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
3 months ago, my wife started planning a 40th birthday party for me. This was before the trade when the Mavericks were looking mid. I think it was like when they were like 29 and 26, something like that. It was kind of a rough time. So we literally put it as far out in advance as possible. I mean, my birthday is May 12th, but we then bumped it a week because of Mother's Day. This has been on the calendar for my whole staff for three months because I invited everybody that works in Mavs Moneyball because we all basically live together on the internet during the season. We're going to do something after Game 6. I don't know what that something is. It might be Josh and I recording together in person where we do something like this where he and I are sharing a mic. I'm honestly not sure. I don't think there will be a secondary show just because I have a bunch of people flying in town and I want to actually see the people that have made time for me. So just kind of understand that going into it. But everybody, we will be right back. And thank you so much for hanging out. We appreciate everyone. Oh, we got 3 more tips to thank. I didn't even thank a couple more folks who gave. Wade, thank you for your support. Another $10. He says, I didn't. Let's go Mavs. Glenn King with a quick tip. Paul Armstrong says, send THJ to X-Mav Island. Louis Stevens says, shout out to Little John in Oklahoma City. And thank you for the tip from Goracol. All right, we will be right back. Everybody, stand pat. Where is the right button?
You deserve a tech career you love, coworkers you can count on, innovation you're proud to build. If you're ready to change the world through technology, explore a career at Cox. Make a real impact in engineering, development, cybersecurity, and more, all while experiencing work-life balance, flexible work options, and great benefits. Visit cox.career/tech to find a job you love today. That's cox.career/tech.